It's not enough just to want change. You have to go and make change by voting. Taylor Swift. Today I'm going to talk to you about voting rights. The purpose of my speech is to first tell you why voting matters to me. Then I will tell you about the history of the United States voting rights, and finally I will inform you on the U.S. voting rights today. Why voting matters to me. I'm named after my great-grandfather, who came as an immigrant from Russia, who was not allowed to vote while he was in Russia. When he came to America, he could vote. Whenever he went to vote, he made it a big ordeal and got dressed up, and now I do the same thing because I'm named after my great-grandfather, and I'm very proud to say I voted. The history of U.S. voting rights. Until August 1920, women were not allowed to vote. Thanks to the 19th Amendment, women are allowed to vote now. According to www.history.com, until this significant date, Tennessee was the first to ratify the 19th Amendment, and following the 19th Amendment, the Snyder Act was passed. The Snyder Act made Native Americans official U.S. citizens and gave them a chance to vote. The history of U.S. voting rights goes on in after the Civil Rights Movement was passed by President Johnson, when he signed the Voting Rights Act. The 14th and 15th Amendments are both included, and this made voting more accessible for all Americans. Although President Johnson worked very hard for fair voting, the history of voting still lies in the hands of U.S. citizens. The battle for who can vote is still not over yet. Today we are facing U.S. citizens are facing voter suppression. Voter suppression is when the efforts to keep specific minority groups from voting. This includes having stricter ID laws and voter registration challenges are being made, and there are fewer polling locations for people to vote, and attacks on mail-in ballots, which is hard because that's what we've recently done a lot. So technically all Americans are allowed to vote now, but voting is still not just because of voter suppression. We, the people of the United States, must unify and realize how important voting really is. The next time you go to the polls, think about who is there and why you're voting. Maybe you have a reason. First, I discussed how much voting matters to me. Next, we looked at the history of U.S. voting rights. And finally, we took a look at voting rights today. So when you come to the end of the rope, hang on and tie a knot and hang on. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Thank you.